In this video, we're going to talk about perhaps the most important aspect to building a world-class team, and that's landing a world-class property manager to run your day-to-day. So let's jump right in. So just like a real estate agent, your property manager, someone that you should be proactively looking for even well before you acquire a property. Property manager is more than just someone who manages your property for you. They're your eyes and ears, they're your pulse, they're the person that's going to represent you with the housing authority. They're going to coordinate with your contractors and your handymen to make sure that work gets done, and they're going to be the ones whose knowledge on the ground of the area, of the nuances, of the tenant pool, plus their connections all together can really make or break whether or not you're successful investing remotely. So nailing a great property manager is priority number one when building out your team. Manager is going to be the one who helps you get the property ready to rent. So any work that needs to be done, any coordination with repairmen, specialty contractors like paint, flooring, HVAC, electrical, plumbing. Property manager will be the one to manage that for you and be there present for you with those contractors to make sure the work's done right and done on time. They're going to be the one that coordinate the cleaning and the landscaping of the property, get it rent ready. They're going to list the property, show the property to prospective tenants, screen those tenants, select one, get the property rented, get the lease signed, manage the move-in date, and then they're going to manage the ongoing relationship with the tenants. So that means collecting rent, handling maintenance requests, anything that the tenant may need, they'll be going to the property manager. Property manager is also going to represent you with the housing authority on inspections and get you set up so that you're getting the government portion of the rent each month. Getting the right property manager is absolutely critical. It's really important that they represent you and they look after your money just as much as you would. The wrong property manager can be very costly. Property manager is super important, not just because they represent you. They're your eyes and ears. They know the pulse on the ground. They know what's going on with your investment. And additionally, someone whose network you should be leveraging heavily. So all the people that you need to really comprise your team, with the exception of perhaps your real estate agent and your lenders, are people that you should be getting through your property manager. Contractors, handymen, cleaning, landscaping, anything that has to do with the actual property and the ongoing management of it, hence the name property manager. This is the person that's going to handle this for you. So you two got to be in lockstep. You got to be tight. Someone who can really execute and represent you well is going to be critical for your success. When looking for a property manager, just like anything else, you want someone who's responsive, diligent, hardworking, trustworthy. Generally speaking, you'd want someone with experience, as well as experience with Section 8. They're going to be the ones representing you on the inspection. So you'll need to have someone who's at least able to be trained on what needs to happen. They're going to need to make sure the property's prepared and will pass the inspection. Property manager is also important, like we mention it again, because you're going to want to leverage their connections, contractors that they trust, people that they trust to get the work done. Trust is a huge factor, especially when you're remote and you don't know any of these people. The property manager's network of proven people who can get the job done is critical. It's pretty easy to find a property manager. A Google search. I've actually found one via YouTube, which is a great search engine. You can post a message on the forums like you would with a real estate agent. You'll get a ton of messages. You can ask your network. You can also post a job listing on something called Thumbtack or a similar site where you list your requirements and find someone that way. The overarching strategy is just how it was with a real estate agent. You want to call a lot of property managers, connect with as many as possible, get some different people on a list that you can then narrow down to make sure you get the right one. Don't rush through this. Approach it proactively. You don't need to wait until you have a property. You want to have this set up so that you're ready to go when you do acquire a property. You have everything in line to get that property rented out as quick as possible. Additionally, I would say a property manager that's a licensed real estate agent is helpful. In some states, this is required. Irrespective, someone who knows the real estate game is going to come in handy. In terms of requirements, I wouldn't cut any corners here. I've seen instances where people have sort of like under the table agreements with people that are handyman type property managers. I really wouldn't do this. This role is too important. I want to get someone who's official, has a company, has the appropriate licenses if needed, and just doesn't have anything that's ambiguous or otherwise unclear. All of that should be detailed in a formal agreement between you and your property manager to make sure everything is official. Additionally, I'd make sure you utilize a property manager who does not take any margin on repairs. What I mean by that is there are certain property managers who someone has a maintenance request, for example, a plumbing request. Property manager receives that request, sends out a plumber. Plumber charges $200 to fix whatever the problem was. The property manager then charges you $220. So they take that extra $20 as a spread, so to speak, and take that as a profit, which is something I would avoid at all costs. You want to make sure that your property manager is fighting for your money as opposed to being incentivized to fix every little thing that comes up and take something off the top when that happens. They're not going to fight for your money if you do that. So make sure you're getting with a property manager who doesn't take a margin on any kind of expenses, and make sure that you train them how to handle maintenance requests so that you're not spending money unnecessarily. A lot of maintenance requests don't necessarily need someone to be sent out. They can be handled by the tenant, or they are straight up the tenant's responsibility. Either way, property manager needs to enforce that if it's applicable. They need to train the tenant on how to fix simple things like unclogging a toilet, which if you send a plumber would cost you $100 just to have them come out, when it can be easily fixed by the tenant. Property manager is handy and can fix things themselves. That'll help too. But either way, you want to make sure that they know not to just blindly send out people for every maintenance request. They need to be diligent in exploring other options first. And only as a last option should someone be sent out. I cannot reiterate this enough. You must train your property manager to fight for your money. If they're sending people out for every little maintenance request that comes in, it is going to kill your cash flow. If your property manager cannot execute on this one area, even if they're solid in every other area, you need to get another property manager. They must explore all avenues to avoid costing you money anytime something comes up. Generally speaking, a property manager will take a percentage of the first month's rent. 50 to 75% is typical. And they'll also take a percentage of ongoing rent. That can be anywhere I've seen from 6 to 10%. I have a good property manager who is also my realtor. Technically, his wife is the realtor and he's the property manager. They're a team. But I like doing that because that means not only do they help me on the property acquisition, but I know that they're making sure that I'm acquiring quality properties because they're the ones who needs to manage it ongoing. So I have that extra assurance. So although you're not always going to be able to have that situation, if you proactively have your property manager locked in and you're looking at properties, you want to spot check with your property manager and have them take a look at what you're about to offer on. Make sure that it'll be a good property for them to manage. If they have any issue with it, that's important for you to know. They're the ones who can look at those things objectively because they wouldn't necessarily be making a commission on the sale. They're going to be having to manage that property ongoing. So they will give you honest feedback. This is something you want to have before you buy the property, which is why it's super important, even if you don't have anything yet, to build these connections, get a property manager, see which one's most helpful with you even before you have a property. That'll be a good indicator of the way that they'll work with you ongoing. And remember, just like a real estate agent, you're not married to any one property manager. If you have multiple properties, it's a good idea, especially at scale, to consider diversifying across properties and using different ones in case you want to change quickly. Something's not working out with a given property manager. You have different options already in place that you can seamlessly move to. Irrespective, Remember, this is the most important person. This is the eyes and ears, boots on the ground. This is the person representing you. It's the person showing your properties, screening your tenants, putting people in the properties. They are super important. Do not compromise. Be extra diligent in this area. Get the right person in place, and I guarantee you'll be on a fast track for success. See you in the next one.